Is there a truly reality out there that humans could really know? It's an age-old battle between realists and absolutists. God is not great, how religion ruins everything. And yet it's utterly and totally ridiculous. We need to live for something beyond ourselves. You know, years ago, I was reading a book. It was a debate between atheists and theists. Of course, what do atheists and theists debate about other than the existence of God? And at one point, I was reading this atheist argument. And, you know, I've already was a believer in God, and arguments like that don't affect my faith. But I remember reading this one atheist, and man, this guy was brilliant. I mean, this guy was sharp as could be. And I thought, who is this guy? And I read and I looked and saw his name was Antony Flew. And every now and then in my reading, I would come across Antony Flew, you know, this atheist apologist. Well, much to my amazement, I don't know, 2 years ago or whatever, I was in a bookstore and I saw this book called There Is a God, How the World's Most Notorious Atheist Changed His Mind. And the author was Antony Flew. I couldn't believe it. So what caused the world's most notorious atheist to change his mind? You know, in the book, stating that he wanted to follow the argument wherever it led, Flew said that, quote, his discovery of the divine has been a pilgrimage of reason and not of faith. Notice that. It's a pilgrimage of reason, not of faith. I say that because there's this idea out there, oh, well, belief in God is just faith and logic and reason. You don't use logic and reason. It's just faith and so on. And I've always thought that was bunk. But here is Flew himself saying he was on a pilgrimage of reason, and that led him to believe in God. Now, two things in particular caused this atheist to switch and believe in God. The first was the teleological argument, the argument from the design, and the second was what's called the cosmological argument, or basically the first cause argument, okay? Anyway, let's look at the first one, the teleological argument, okay, the argument from design. I mean, you look around and things look designed, and you know, and you think there's a designer to it. That's a very logical conclusion to draw from. Now, it's not an irrational conclusion. Some say supposedly that David Hume had refuted it on and on and on. I've read Hume's supposed refutation of the teleological argument, and I think it fails miserably. But anyway, talking about that, Flew wrote about what they call the monkey theorem. The idea that a number of primates beating away on a typewriter would eventually, if given enough time, create a Shakespeare sonnet. In other words, just give them enough time, and you give a bunch of monkeys, you know, billions of years, give them a typewriter, and they would eventually create a sonnet. And Flew, looking at the math, looking at the probability of that on and on and on, and he saw the incredible complexity, and he just simply decided, nah, there's no way in the world all this complexity, all this stuff could have arisen purely by chance. And the other thing was from the cosmological argument, which was just the idea of where did everything come from? And for Flew, what really changed his mind was the idea of the Big Bang, the fact that the universe once didn't exist. See, a lot of people believe that the universe always existed. It was just a brute fact. It was just there. And then, according to Flew, let me read what he said. He said here, as long as the universe could be comfortably thought to be not only without an end, but also without a beginning, it remained easy to see its existence and its most fundamental features as brute fact. In other words, you didn't have to explain it. It's just the universe. It's just there. And if there had been no reason to think that the universe had a beginning, there would be no need to postulate something else that produced the whole thing. Okay, he's logical. If it was always there, nothing had to produce it. But the Big Bang theory changed all that. If the universe had a beginning, it became entirely sensible, almost inevitable, to ask what produced this beginning. This radically altered the situation. In other words, for Flew, he started to believe in some kind of divine mind because something had to create the universe. If it was the Big Bang, fine. But if it was the Big Bang, where did it come from? You know, there's an awful lot of math, an awful lot of science, an awful lot of physics go into the Big Bang. He had a chapter in there titled, Did Something Come From Nothing? And many people who believe in the Big Bang but don't want to believe in God have to try to argue that the Big Bang arose out of nothing and everything that followed came from nothing. Well, you know, folks, I'm sorry. I mean, I just don't think that that's the most logical, brilliant explanation. And Flew didn't accept it either. That's why ultimately it caused Antony Flew to believe in some kind of divine mind. So between the incredible complexity in the world and the fact that the universe had a beginning, Antony Flew eventually became the world's most notorious atheist. And he was a good one. He was good. You read his stuff, he was very, very good at what he argued for. But the bottom line, he changed his mind. Of course now, belief in a divine mind, that's what he says. Belief in a divine mind isn't anything like true faith, but it's true faith in the biblical sense. But towards the end of his book, writing about how he was led to believe in an infinitely intelligent mind, this is what he said. Some claim to have made contact with that mind. I have not yet. But who knows what could happen next? Someday I might hear a voice that says, can you hear me now? He's talking now, of course, about special revelation, when God reveals truths to us that logic and reason in and of themselves won't reveal. Because in many ways, too, Christianity is a religion. While, of course, there's logic and reason, it goes beyond logic and reason, goes beyond where logic and reason can take you, goes to the heart in some ways where logic and reason can't. And I would love to challenge Antony Flew, because his logic and reasoning took him this far. I would love to challenge him to take his logic and reason one step further. Mr. Flew, I would say, would it not seem logical and reasonable that this divine mind, this powerful divine mind, this incredible divine mind, because whatever created all the universe, whatever is pretty powerful, wouldn't it seem logical and reasonable that this divine mind, so powerful and infinite, would in fact reveal himself to us? And Flew does write something else as well, which I thought was interesting. He says, quote, as I have said more than once, no other religion enjoys anything like the combination of a charismatic figure like Jesus and a first-class intellectual like St. Paul. If you're wanting omnipotence to set up a religion, it seems that this is the one to beat, close quote. That's Antony Flew. The world's most notorious atheist has come so far. Wonder how much further he'll go before it's all over.